Good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you for that introduction. My name is Monica Dukes, and as Joshua mentioned, I'm a data dissemination specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau, and so my job is to present the information that we have on the census website. I present presentations and webinars, or just find any data that you may be looking at or looking for on our website. Today, I will be discussing a few things, so I'll give a brief overview. I'll talk about the different geography levels that we have available to search our geography. I'll talk about some of our main programs. So what I'm going to focus more on today are the programs where you can grab population data. What is the differences in these three programs that I'll talk about, when to use decennial census data versus our American Community Survey data or our population estimates. And then I'll take a look at data tools to access this information. So how do you find this information on our census website? And then I'll go live online so that we can actually look at some of the data that's available to kind of walk you through how would you access this data from census.gov. Our population statistics come from our decennial censuses, which happen every 10 years, which count the entire US population every 10 years, along with several other surveys. Again, I'll go through those surveys a little further on. We'll discuss more about the decennial census and those additional surveys that provide specifically population data. So hopefully most of you are aware of who we are, but we're the federal government's largest statistical agency and the nation's data collector. The U.S. Census Bureau conducts not one, but three censuses. The one that most are familiar with is the Decennial Census, which is the once a decade head count. We've been conducting 1790. The Decennial Census is mandated by the Constitution. We also have what's called the Economic Census, which serves as a benchmark for changes in the U.S. economy and businesses by sector over time. And then we conduct the Census of Governments, which provides data on local and state government finances, spending, and employment. So we actually conduct over 130 current surveys each year, which includes the I'm sorry, I didn't mean to skip pages, which includes the American Community Survey, which I will be talking more about today. And that's the largest household survey in the US. It provides annual data for areas large and small on a variety of population data, housing, social, and economic topics. Other surveys we conduct include the Current Population Survey, which is a joint project between the census and BLS, and the resulting data goes into the monthly unemployment rate, which we see every month. And then there's the Consumer Expenditure Survey as well. The Census Bureau also produces annual population estimates and less frequent population projections. I'll talk about that a little more as well. And this is our mission to serve as the nation's leading provider of quality data about its people and economy. Census data is a key resource used for planning schools and roads, for opening or expanding a business, and distribute billions of dollars in federal funding. Okay, so on the screen, we have all of the various geographies that we provide or you could find using census data. We have a saying at Census, we always say everything starts with geography. So if you take a look at the geography levels that are in the middle, you can see everything that nests up. So at the bottom, you'll see the block group, and the data goes all the way up to the nation level. And then to the left and the right, you'll see some additional geographies that we have available as well. And when we go into some of the tools, you'll be able to see, depending on which tool you're using and which program you're looking at, all of these geography levels may or may not be available, but we'll take a look at that. But we wanted you to know what we do have available. So we have many geographic levels to conduct data searches. And the geographic areas the ACS survey or our surveys provide, as shown on the screen, has a hierarchy display for those which provide data on the ACS, the American Community Survey. which is smaller areas including towns, many counties, and census tracts, which will be available using 5-year data. I want to make a note, the smallest level or the census block is the smallest geographic area that the Census Bureau releases data for. And that is only available when looking at the decennial level data or the data that we count every 10 years. So more about the decennial. So most people are familiar with the decennial or what our count that we do every 10 years. The U.S. Census Bureau conducts a census to determine the number of people living in the U.S. My apologies. The U.S. Census Bureau conducts the census in years ending in 0 on Census Day, which is April 1st. The data collected by the Decennial Census are used to apportion the number of seats each state has in the U.S. House of Representatives. Apportionment is the process of dividing the seats in the House of Representatives. And apportionment is the process of dividing the seats among the 50 states based on the population figures collected during the decennial census. So the U.S. Constitution mandates that an apportionment of representatives among the states must be carried out every 10 years, and therefore apportionment is the original legal purpose of the decennial census as intended by our nation's founders. So this is just a snapshot of what you can find or what we ask every 10 years, what those topics include, which is essentially basically 10 questions that was on the questionnaire, and that covers age, sex, relationship, Hispanic or Latino origin, race and ethnicity, number of people living in a housing unit or housing tenure. With only 10 questions, households are asked to provide key demographic information, including whether a housing unit is rented or owned, the address of the residents, and the names, genders, ages, and races of others living in the household. And again, by law, the U.S. Census Bureau cannot share any individual's responses with anyone, including other federal agencies and law enforcement entities. To sum it up, what we do every 10 years, we call this our 100% or complete data count. It's counted at a point or reference in time, which is April 1st of every 10 years. That is the reference date. I mentioned earlier, it's available down to the block level, which is the lowest level of geography that you can search the Census Bureau, and it is what we call our official population count. So now I'm going to move on to another survey that we conduct. And this is our American Community Survey, which is actually a part of what we do, our decennial program. So this will be an overview of the ACS, how it is a part of the Decennial Census program, and how it compares and contrasts with the Decennial Census. So the Decennial Census and the American Community Survey are part of the Decennial Census program of the U.S. Census Bureau. So since 2005, which is when this survey began, in order to provide communities, businesses, and the public with detailed information more frequently, data that were historically collected only once every 10 years by the Decennial Census long form are now being collected monthly and released annually through the survey called ACS. So I don't know if many of you have experienced before. Um, in before 2000, we had a long form that used to come with the census every 10 years that had a lot of additional questions. We now conduct that monthly through a survey sample. And again, that was called the long form, and this survey has replaced that. So what is the American Community Survey? It's a nationwide household survey. It's the largest in the US and maybe the largest household survey in the world. It uses a sample size of 3.5 million housing units. The purpose of the survey is to provide communities with reliable and timely social, economic, demographic, and housing data every year instead of waiting every 10-year period. So it's part of the Decennial Census program because data collected on this survey, again, was formerly collected on the long form in 2000 and earlier. Because it's part of the decennial program, it is also participation is mandated by law. And often when participants have reservations about responding, what seems to help is to let them know that it's an official need at the federal and or state need for the data to be supplied. Each question has been approved by Congress. So for example, to get commuting data, it asks what time a respondent leaves home for work in the morning and what time they arrive at work. And this is to determine commuting data. This plays into the funding states and counties receive for transportation projects like road expansion and improvements. We also collect data through the survey for group quarters, which is a place where people live in a group setting and receive some kind of service such as dorms, nursing homes, and jails. The process of collecting this data is different and often relies on working with a trusted contact at the facility to provide administrative information about its residents. So again, with this survey, this is released annually, and depending on, sometimes organizations may need or be applying for different grants. This is where you're going to get the characteristic data that you cannot get at the 10-year period from the Decennial Census. So I'll talk more about what the annual data releases are for the ACS. And as you can see on the screen, we have what is called the 1-year estimates, or data for areas with populations of 65,000 or more. And again, this data is released annually. We have 1-year supplemental estimates, which is data for areas with population of 20,000 or more. And then we have our 5-year estimate, which is data for all areas. And I'll talk a little bit more about that so you'll have a greater understanding of when you would use each of these different annual releases and the why. The American Community Survey covers many topics. As you can see on the screen, we kind of break it up into 4 categories, which includes our social, our demographic, economic, and housing data. And these are not all of the topics that are there in the ACS, but just gives an example of what topics fall under each of the different categories of social, demographic, economic, and housing data. If you think about it, the American Community Survey data are those fine details, the rich descriptive statistics that provide a more complete picture of who residents are and how they live. So for more context on how people are using the data, here's some common data users and uses of the data. So of course, state and local agencies use the data for program assessments and public information. Nonprofit organizations and grant writers for identifying the needs of vulnerable groups and needs-based services or areas within a community. Business owners and entrepreneurs use the data for business plans, locating potential customers. Elected officials utilize the information for evaluating policies and making informed decisions for their constituents. And then libraries and educational institutions use the information to assist students and faculty while providing research support. Now here on this screen, this pretty much gives you a description of those various releases or those estimates that I mentioned earlier. So this gives a more thorough breakdown of what you can find. So in our 1-year estimates, you get 12 months of collected data. So for example, when you're looking at the 2023 ACS 1-year estimates, that data is collected between January 1, 2023 and December 31st, 2023. And would be for data for areas with populations of 65,000 or more. It is the smallest sample size. It's going to be less reliable than the higher years in the table. It's going to be the most current data that we have available. It is released annually, and it's been released since 2005, so you can do a historical look at data all the way back to 2005. And it's best used when currency is more important than precision analyzing large populations. I mentioned the 1-year supplemental estimates. Again, this is for data for areas with populations of 20,000 plus, so the smaller sample sizes. It's going to be less reliable than, of course, our 5-year data. It is released annually, and the data is available from 2014 through the present. And it's best used when currency is more important than precision, analyzing smaller populations examining smaller geographies because the standard 1 year estimates are not available. Now, you'll see I have the 3 year estimates grayed out, but I wanted you to know that they're available. This is something that we used to produce on an ongoing basis. However, we stopped producing the 3 year estimates after 2013. So right now you can still see 3 year estimate data, but it's only from 2007 to 2013. And then our most robust data is going to be our 5 year ACS estimates, which is 60 months of collected data. So again, for example, from 2019 to 2023, which is the latest sample that's available, is data for all areas. It is our largest sample size. We consider it to be our most reliable data. However, it is the least current time period. So that's something to consider when you're looking at data. And then when you're comparing, you can only compare 5 year estimate to 5 year estimate because the data is aggregated over a 5 year period. So if you're doing trend analysis, you may be looking more at the 1 year estimate so you can compare each year. But if you're looking at the 5 year, you would have to compare each 5 year period without overlapping years. It is annually released, and it's best used when precision is more important than currency, analyzing very small populations, examining tracts or what we call neighborhoods, and other smaller geographies because the 1 year estimates are not available. Okay. Again, talking about some of those topics that are available for ACS. So we have some subject level data. And again, you can see that here. So all of these topics would fall under population. So you can look at various things such as ancestry, disability status, grandparents as caregivers, income and earnings, period of military service, undergraduate field or degree, veteran status. And then we have those housing topics as well. So again, using ACS data allows you to get a complete picture of what's going on in the community and do sort of a community analysis. So that's something else to think about when you're looking at data. If you're looking at the characteristics of how a community or neighborhood, state, city lives, you're looking at the ACS data. And there are over 40 questions on the survey which collect this data. Okay, so now that we've talked about those two big programs, we'll kind of compare and contrast them, the ACS versus the Decennial. Again, how the ACS is a part of the Decennial Census program, and then, of course, how it's comparing and contrasting. So let's take a look. I mentioned the Decennial Census is what we consider our 100% data count. It tells us how many people live in the US. It is a point in time survey, which again, that reference date of when we're asking the questions refer to April 1st of every 10-year period. And then it counts people and housing units. With the American Community Survey, it is sample data. It's telling us how people live in the US. It's period in time. So we'll say how was someone living over the last year or the last 5 year period. And then we're looking at characteristics such as income, poverty, and education. Again, the decennial census is our 100% count. It's the only source of 100% data from the US population, and the ACS provides sample data because it's collected from a sample of the population. And all sample data contains error, and the margin of error is published with each ACS estimate. And we'll see that when we take a look at the tools. You'll see the margins of error listed next to a lot of the totals. ACS data is published at a 90% confidence level, meaning that we are 90% confident that the true value of an estimate lies within the range. The reference date for data collected for the decennial, again, is April 1st. And ACS estimates are period and time estimates for either the calendar year for the 1 year estimates or 60 months of data collection for the 5 year estimate. Decennial data speaks mostly to counts like population and housing units, while the ACS speaks to characteristic data or data that describes a population. And again, this slide is just again highlighting the differences between the two surveys, which I've gone on the previous slide, but just take a look here. We can see again, the ACS is current information, whereas the decennial is our official count. And the ACS is a complementary product to the decennial census and our population estimates, which I will talk about on the next few slides, which is another way that we're showing population data. So if you're looking for a straight total population of an area, your best bet is the decennial census or the population estimates. Again, I'll talk about that next. But if you're looking for anything else or in combination of population, say education, income, and occupation, you would want to use the ACS data because the ACS provides those descriptive statistics. Okay, so now moving on to our third program, or our population estimates program. So our population estimates program, or PEP, produces estimates of the population for the United States, metropolitan and micropolitan statistical areas, counties, cities, towns, as well as for Puerto Rico and its municipalities and municipals. Demographic components of population change, which are considered births, deaths, and migration, are produced at the national, state, and county levels of geography. Additionally, housing unit estimates are produced for the nation, states, and counties. The program annually utilizes current data on births, deaths, and migration administrative records to calculate population change since the most recent decennial census and produce a time series of estimates of the population, demographic components of change, and housing units. So the annual time series of estimates begins with the most recent decennial census data and extends to the vintage year. These estimates are used in federal funding allocations as survey controls, as denominators for vital rates and per capita time series, and as indicators of recent demographic changes. For the population estimates program, we use the word vintage to refer to a specific version of the estimates. The annual time series of estimates begins with the year of the most recent decennial census and extends to the vintage year. And we'll take a look at that when we pull the data. As each vintage of estimates includes all years since the most recent decennial census, the latest vintage of data available supersedes all previously produced estimates for those dates. And on the screen, you'll see a map, which is showing an image from our population estimates from 2021. This graphic is where counties are growing, percent change in population by county. So those highlighted in green are showing a gain of 1.6 or more, a 1.6 or more percent change. Okay, so there's a schedule release for the most recent, remember I mentioned vintage 2024 estimates. So these two tables here are showing what's available. So the latest data or population estimates that are available right now are from July 1st, 2023, for the national and state population and demographic components of population change. And our next release will actually be December 2024, which will have the vintage date of 7/1/2024 data. Again, these estimates are released on a flow basis throughout the year. And again, that's what these tables are showing, beginning with the national and state total estimates in December and ending with the release of population estimates for the nation, states, and counties by demographic characteristics during the following summer. So the latest full vintage available is 2023. And the series is developed from a base that integrates the 2020 census, which is the last decennial count that we did, and the vintage 2020 estimates and the demographic analysis estimates. And this here, you can get the data. A lot of the population estimate data is come in tabular format that you can download right into Excel file. So this is just an example of how the data looks and what I was previously mentioning when I mentioned the base year. So if we look at this chart here, And this is just for resident population for incorporated places in Alabama is in alphabetical order. So at the top, we have Abbeville City, Alabama. We have our count, the base count from 2020, April 1, 2020. And then we have our estimates that are released every July 1st as the reference date. So in 2020, we have that update of 2351. We have the estimate from 2021. We have our estimate from 2022, and the latest that's available is 2023, with that population being 2,377. I included this here because we do population estimates, but I also want to mention we have population projections as well, which are estimates of the population for future dates. So they're typically based on an estimated population consistent with the most recent decennial census and are produced using the cohort component method. Projections illustrate possible courses of population change based on assumptions about future births, deaths, net international migration, and domestic migration. So in some cases, several series of projections are produced based on alternative assumptions for future fertility, life expectancy, net international migration, and for state to state or domestic migration. While projections and estimates may appear similar, there are some distinct differences between the two. So estimates are for the past and present, while projections are based on assumptions about future demographic trends. So on the screen, what you'll see is what we call our US population clock. It's based on a series of short-term projections for the resident population of the United States. This includes people whose usual residence is in the 50 states and the District of Columbia. The projections do not include members of the armed forces overseas, their dependents, or other U.S. citizens residing outside of the U.S. And the projections are based on a monthly series of population estimates, starting with the April 1st, 2020 resident population from the 2020 census. So at the end of each year, a revised series of population estimates from the census date forward is used to update the short-term projections for the clock. Again, these population estimates produced for the U.S. Census Bureau can be found on our population estimates page, which I'll show you a little later on, and when we have a page for our projections as well. So this is a snapshot from the clock. If I actually included the link on the slide here, so if you were to go here, this number is always moving based on the components of population change. So we estimate that there's a birth every 9 seconds in the US, a death every 11 seconds. There's one international migrant entering the US every 28 seconds. And so that is a net gain of one person every 18 seconds. So that is how, when you look at the actual clock that's moving on the site, it is moving every 18 seconds. And then we also have the most populous, 10 most populous countries as well. And also on this page, we show the most populous states, the county populations you can get as well, and as well as the city population if you click each of those tabs. And then we show the states with the highest density. So this is just something neat that we have on our page that's based off of our population estimates as well. So I just wanted to point that out. Now I'll talk about the data tools to access some of this data. I wanted to show this one tool here. This is a snapshot of the page. I'll show this a little later if we have time. It's called our Census Survey Explorer. So if you're new to using census data or just don't know what we have or where to find it, this tool helps you find that information. So you can use any of the topics here at the top of the page, such as geography, starting there, what you're looking for, what level, whether it's state, county, census tract, census blocks, frequency, annual data, 5-year data, topics, so all the various topics that I mentioned, and then subtopics. And so once you click one of those, it's going to drill down based on what you're looking for and tell you which tool or which program provides that data. So again, clicking on a program or survey listing will take you to its respective website where you can find more information about the program surveys, such as links to the data tools, data tables, contact information, respondent information, news releases, and more. And what makes this tool unique is that it's a reference for all of our surveys or censuses in one place, and a guide that can help you figure out if there is the data available, where it can be found across all of our Census Bureau surveys and censuses. Quickly, our QuickFacts data tool, which I'll go in and demonstrate, it provides basic population, business, and geography statistics for all states and counties, and for cities and towns with more than 5,000 people. It's an easy to use application that provides tables and charts of frequently requested statistics for many Census Bureau censuses, surveys, and programs. Profiles are available for the nation, all 50 states, plus the District of Columbia, and you can add up to 6 different geographies in this tool to compare. The tool always begins in table view, which is what you're seeing here on the screen, and it always defaults to the United States. And on this page, you can also change to table view. So you can see here on this screen, it's already defaulted to the United States, but I wanted to show you this tool because it's showing our population estimates, which is one of the programs that I talked about. We're at Vintage 2023, so July 1st, 2023, and the population at that point in time was 334.9 million individuals. Then if we look down a little further, we'll see again under that our base estimate for April 1st, 2020, Vintage 2023 was slightly lower at 331 million. We can see what that population change was from our 2020 count to our July 1st estimate for 2023. It was a 1% change or increase. And then we can see what our actual count was for April 1st, 2020 versus what the population count was April 1st, 2010. So taking a look at this tool, this allows you to take a look at these numbers very quickly. It's pre-selected topics here and totals and topics, so you're not drilling down into tables yourself. And it's a very user-friendly tool, so it's something that if you're new to Census, it's easy to use and get started very quickly. All of the topics that fall under this QuickFacts tool are here on the screen. And again, it's including other topics such as economy, income and poverty, and housing. And so you cannot change the topics or headings in this tool. It's just to give you a quick overview of an area. And again, you can compare up to 6 different geographies in this tool. Next tool is our Data.census.gov, which is our new platform to access demographic and economic data from the U.S. Census Bureau. This tool is used to improve the customer experience by making data available from one centralized place so that data users spend less time searching for data and content and more time using it. So pretty much all of our programs, census surveys, economic data can all be found here in this one tool. There are different components to this tool and it's very interactive. So we're about to go in and see in one moment. You can use tables in this tool. There's mapping tools and features we can use right from this tool, as well as data profiles that you can get right from the tool. So what I'll do now is go into the portion where I go online to the actual website, and I'm actually going to stop here while I transition. I don't know if there are any pressing questions before I move on, but please let me know and I will try to answer them quickly.
Hey, thank you, Monica. There's nothing in the chat right now. Shelby put a link in there for some Alabama demographics, and it's from
Okay.
the Alabama State Center for Census Partnership. So, does anybody have any questions while we're transitioning? Throw those in chat, or you're welcome to open your mic.
Okay. So if not, I'm going to go ahead and move to, and please let me know if you are able to see my screen. So it should be on the QuickFacts tool
Yes,
at this
ma'am.
point.
Yep, it looks good.
Okay, so okay, so what I'll do now, I know that a lot of you are in the state of Alabama, so I'll quickly show you how to utilize this tool. So here is where you can update the different geographies that you're seeing in the tool. I mentioned before it defaults to the United States, so we have all those totals here. But I'm going to go ahead and type in Alabama. It allows me. Okay, so you can begin typing, and it, of course, pulls up things that I think you may be looking for. So here we are, Alabama, and now it's going to add Alabama to the table here. And as you can see, we have the population estimates here. Then we have that our totals for the 2010 census, which comes from our decennial count, as well as our 2010 count as well. And if I scroll down again, all those topics that I mentioned before, they're here. So you have these predetermined topics: population, age and sex, race and Hispanic origin. So this tool allows you to get a quick look of an area, population characteristics, housing, education data, transportation, and businesses. Again, we can add more to that geography. So I'm just going to type in a county. Sometimes when I'm starting with the customer and taking a look, when you're comparing these areas to the larger geography, which is the United States or the state, there's certain things that you can see that um, may stand out. So for example, the population change here in this city in Tuscaloosa actually had 11.8 increase, which is a much larger increase from these larger geographies. We'll continue to scroll down to see if anything else stands out. If you click here next to each topic, there's going to be an information source. If you're wondering where it came from, this tells us where the data comes from, and then it gives links to where you can find additional data as well. And then these marks here, there's a legend at the bottom that pretty much is telling you these are all different methodologies, because all of these topics are pulled from different sources. So estimates from different sources are not necessarily comparable. So if you want to go and do a deeper dive or look more, we're going to look at our Data.census.gov tool to do that. And if you see any of these other um, letters or flags, it tells you why it may not be showing for these various reasons. It could be suppressed, not applicable. So that is why that's there. I mentioned also that you can just look at a chart view. So if we just wanted to take a look at the city of Alabama, it's going to give us a chart view here. It's ranking all of the populations of the city in Alabama by highest population totals, because that is what is here, population estimates. We can change which fact that we're looking at by clicking this button here and changing it from that default if you want to see something different, any of those topics from the table, and it goes down to the lowest population. So it's comparing all those cities. If you only wanted to see how it compares to the 3 areas that you selected, you would show the selected areas or locations only. Okay. So of course, this data is available. The tables, you can download this by clicking here. So you can print this data, send it CSV file, or email it to yourself. The next tool that I want to talk about, which is the Data.census.gov, our overarching tool that houses most of the data that we provide. There is a learning curve to this tool. So when people start, we tend to take them here to the advanced search. It's a topic-driven way to search, but I'm going to talk about those different population or different programs that I talked about. So what I'll do is go here. We can select the topic. So we're looking at populations and people. I'm going to select populations and people here because that's what I want to take a look at. But you see there's other topics. All of these topics you can search. This is how you utilize this tool, by clicking what you want to find. Now, because I talked about the decennial census first, I know that that is conducted every 10 years. So I want to see what the population was at our last 2020 period. So I'm going to select that. And then over here to the right, if you hit search, it will bring up the available tables. So here we have the Decennial Census table P1, total population. I'm going to click there. And now I have it defaults to the national level of all states. My total population from our 2020 count for all states. This data is, of course, downloadable. If you copy the link from the page, you can share this information directly with anyone and it'll open right back up. They don't have to do a separate search, or if you just want to save it for yourself, you don't want to have to pull that search again, you can. And so right now, again, we're looking at the decennial count, and those steps that I took was just to select my topic and then select the year of data that I wanted to select. You can also, we also have a topic called program, so you could select Decennial Census. If I were to click that, it's going to ask you for which congressional file or detailed file. So that's why I stuck with the year, because I think it's easier to search that way. We know that the count is every 10 years. To clear the search, we can just click this icon, the United States Census Bureau, and start over. So I'm going to go here to advanced search again. Now I'm going to move into our American Community Survey data, again, which is our sample data that we release annually. So again, I'm going to look at populations and people. But now I'm going to go down to program so that I can find the American Community Survey. And remember, I mentioned earlier, we have those various estimates. So if we want to look at the annual data, we would click here to the 1-year estimates, and we have different tables that you can look at. So we have comparison profiles, data profiles, detailed tables, selected profile, population profiles, and subject tables. I'm going to select data profiles and hit search. And again, when you go in there, you can see there's so much in this tool. It's very robust. There's so much information here, you can get lost. So that's why we suggest using the topics to the left to kind of guide your search. And then it's going to show you what's available. So I'm going to start here. This is our data profile table, or DP05, which is going to give us a comprehensive look at our demographics. I'm sorry, I want to do one other thing, but I'll do it from this screen so you can see another functionality of the tool. So right now, again, as I mentioned, it's going to default to the United States. Remember, with our ACS data, you get the actual estimate or number, and then we have our margin or area, or our confidence level. And as you can see here, if I scroll down, there's a lot of information here. So we have sex and age broken down by different age groups. We also have race and population data. So we're getting more details, 2 or more races, those who indicate they're one race, whether they're American Indian, Asian, Native Hawaiian, 2 or more races, whether they're Hispanic or Latino, and their race that they indicated. And then we have some voting age population data. Now, this tool also allows you to look at maps. So in order for a map to visually show you information in a way that makes sense, you want to have more than one geography. So what I'll do is change my geography level here by clicking geos. You can also do that here where we started under topics. Because I'm already here, I'm going to change it to county so that I can look at all of the counties in Alabama, looking at that same table. And now we can see I have my table with all of those same topics, but now across the top, I now have all of the counties in Alabama across the top, showing all of this population data. If I wanted to map it, I would just click this tab here at the top. I am going to zoom in so that we can see more of these details. It's going to automatically, I'm just going to move this over so we can see more of the map. It's going to automatically show a legend, a defaulted legend, which you can change to view it any way you would like. The more I zoom in, then I'll get to see more details. So now I can actually see the counties. Right now, the top is total population showing. So the counties with the highest, or I'm sorry, the darkest blue right now are the counties with the highest populations by county. You can change, so anything that's in that table, you can change the view. So if you're more interested in looking at, okay, and by county, How many individuals indicated that they are Black or African American. If we click that here, it will change my view. And again, the counties with the darker colors will be the ones with the highest populations, which is Montgomery here, of African Americans by race, by county in Alabama. There's a lot of functionality here that, can't go through it all because I know I'm getting close to my time and I wanted to leave time for a few questions. But you can, again, change the colors. You can change the classes. So if you didn't like these ranges, you can change those here. If you wanted to look at a different year, because right now we're looking at the latest data, which is 2023. If you wanted to look at older years, you can do that by just changing the year here. And again, you can add various layers to the map or different boundaries. So if you wanted to see, we call cities place. So if you wanted to add city names in the map, you can do that as well. I mentioned earlier, if you copy the link here at the top, you can send this map straight to yourself or to someone else, and they can open it right up and it'll go right back to this page without having to do the search. So looking at the time, I think I'm going to stop right here and allow for questions. If there's anything that anyone wanted to see that I didn't cover or had a question about anything that I've already mentioned, please let me know. I actually can see the chat right now. So I do see one question that states, how do you download a table that can be joined to a block group shapefile? If you don't mind, I will put my email address so that I can follow up with you on that right now. I'm not the expert on the shape files, but I know that we can do work with the block group shape files. I did show where you can share. Let me go back to the tables here. There's many options here to share these various files, but I'll make sure that I get that answer to you. We have one of my colleagues is a geography expert, so I can make sure that I get that answer to you.
Yeah, that sounds great. Monica, I threw your email address into the chat and pinned it there. So
Okay,
if
thanks so
anybody needs to
much.
reach out to Monica, we have any other questions? You can throw it in chat, or if you'd like to come off mic and ask, feel free.
Or if there's anything you wanted me to show that I did not show in this quick demonstration, I can do that as well. I don't see any questions, but I will just click right over to, I wanted to show this page. Again, I think I have this link in the presentation that I showed previously. This is where you can get a lot of the population and housing estimate. Well, actually, I'll go back here. I wanted to show this page because in this tool, you can get population estimates. However, it's limited. And right now I can explain to you why it's limited on what you can see because we're already on vintage 2023. However, in this tool, it's only showing vintage year up to 2020, I'm sorry, 2019. But if we go down here, we do have population estimates data. If I click here, you can see what is available when I hit search. And then these are the available tables. There's only two that show up. So again, you can see here, let's go ahead and take a look at it. This is annual estimates of the resident population for the United States, regions, states, districts of Colombia, and Puerto Rico for April 1st, 2020 to July 1st, 2021. So we can see here we have our base population estimate from the count from 2020. And then we have the estimate, which was updated for July 2020. And then we have the update for 2021. And again, you can take a look at this for different geographies. I see we have all of this. It looks like we have all of the states in this table as well. But if you wanted the more detailed Excel tables, you can see here. You can click on each of these labels and you'll get those Excel files. If this is more of what you're looking for the population estimates, you have to actually go to the population estimates page because it's limited in what they've added in the tool. And then the other tool that I mentioned, which was the Census Survey Explorer, this will help guide you on what's available. So My apologies, I typed too far. So if I type in population here, I can do a search from here, or I can look at topics. So if I'm looking for demographics and I click demographics, all of these tools is telling you what's available, the frequency that is available, what geographies you can find, the topics, and then subtopics. So again, there's a wealth of information on our census.gov page. This is kind of to help guide you on what's available. Everything you can see, I clicked on the topic demographic. So all of these programs or tools have demographic data available in them. And then you can narrow down from there which one works best for you. Okay, I see a question that says where to find training resources. So I am a data dissemination specialist and we have training, but what I want to do is take you and I'll actually put this in our, let me get to a page. I'll give you a link um, that takes you to our training page because we also have additional webinars there. Oh, there's another word that I should use that's going to get you there faster. Oh, let me go back. Okay. Which is our Census Academy page, and then you can see all the resources that are there. If you want something customized, you can reach out to myself, and then there are other colleagues. If you know someone located in a different area, um, that would like training, we can put them in touch with our DDSs in other areas. So here we are. This is our Census Academy page. Here we have requested data training at the top. And then you can view information by topic. So you see we have various videos by topic that you can scroll through. We've created courses that you can take a look at to follow along. And then all of our upcoming webinars are here as well. So we do have a wealth of information on our page. Let me try to quickly, if I can put that in the chat so that you can grab that. Okay, I'm trying to see if there's anything else I missed. Okay, I think someone's answering a question about shape files.
Yeah, thank you, Stephanie, for answering that. Does anybody else have any questions? We've got about 3 minutes left here. So, all right, Sam, if you want to email Monica, and then she can get you in touch with kind of GIS specialist there on the census team. I'm sure they can
Okay, and
help
I
get
do
you
know
started.
which file you clicked today. So yeah, try to answer that for you offline. Definitely get you the answer. Because I actually did that today when I was in the mapping tool as well, and I saw that. Well, if there's nothing else, I definitely want to thank everyone for joining today, and I hope that the information I shared with you was useful. Again, if there's any data that you need, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to find it for you or walk you through it, um, because that is my job. So again, thank you so much for your time and attention. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
Thank you, Monica. And I've got a couple closing things for everybody who hops off here. Monica will email me out the slides, so you can email me at president@gisaa.org or events@gisaa.org, and give us a couple days, and then we will. I'll send out kind of a mass email that has those attached. This video is recorded and it'll be posted to our YouTube channel. You can search our YouTube channel. It's at GIS Alabama. So please go in and like and subscribe. There was a comment pinned at the top of this chat. That was an ArcGIS survey. So we're doing just trying to collect where folks are calling in from. We're not going to advertise to you or spam email you. Just trying to build some cool maps that show where everybody's calling in. We do have a Slack channel at GISAA, so if you're interested in joining the Slack channel, we have job postings, chats, you can ask questions, listing for events. You can email slack@gisa.org and we'll get you hooked up there. Also, if you're not currently getting our newsletters, please consider becoming a contact. You can do that at the gisa.org website. Nothing's really required. You'll just have your contact information. You'll get invited to these events and you'll get newsletters. If you're not a member of GISAA, I'd strongly encourage you to join. We are a nonprofit, really supporting education and GIS technology across the state. We also give a lot of those funds for scholarships across multiple universities across the state for geography and geography related programs. It also allows us to sponsor other events, lunch and learns, and really help support our community. Uh, there's the GIS of Alabama event. That's November 18th and 22nd at the Lodge at Gulf Shores. GISA will be a sponsor down there. So if you're going to be attending that event, please stop by, come check us out, sign up for our raffles, get to meet some of our team. We'll also have elections coming up this year. So if you're interested in serving, it's a great way to really give back to the profession and the community, and you can get some GISP points and get to know some folks in the industry. And then the last thing, we have another Lunch and Learn coming December 4th. That'll be the last one of 2024. And that's coming from one of our corporate sponsors, Bonfire Engineering. Should be exciting. It's using Python and some other scripting to design and deploy telecommunications and fiber optic networks. So stay tuned for that. If you haven't signed up, you can check it out on our site. And again, Monica, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time today and all the information. This was really fantastic.
Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, have a great day. Thank you.